The percent of people who are AB negative is 1%. It's 1. And changing it to decimals, it would be 0.01. So that is the probability that a randomly selected person from the population is AB negative. So that's equal to 0.01. So let's write that down as an equation first. Now, what is the probability that a person is randomly selected person is not AB negative? So it is the opposite of being AB negative. So we use the rule of complements, which is probability of not AB negative, which we're going to call N, is equal to 1 minus probability of being AB negative, which is 1 minus 0.01, which is 0.99. So far, we have two probabilities, one that was given and one that we figured out. Probability of not AB negative is the opposite, so it's 1 minus 0.01 which is equal to 0.99. Now the next question is, what is the probability that the next 10 people, not one person, but the next 10, so 10 people who are tested do not have blood type AB negative. They're not AB negative, but not one. So the difference between the previous question and this question is now we have 10 people, and in the previous question it was one person. Okay, so what is the probability that the next 10 people are not AB negative? So probability of no, 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 dot, 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 and that's the 10th person with not AB negative. And the word between these letters is the word and. So we are requiring that all 10 people be not AB negative, do not have AB negative blood type. So the word is and, so it goes with the multiplication rule for independent events. So it's P of n times P of n, so this is just times, 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 times. So we multiply the individual probabilities, so that would be 0.99 to the 10th power, which is equal to 0.904382 dot dot dot. If the question says rounded to the 4th decimal place, then we look to the 5th, and since it's 5 or greater, we add 1, which means we round up to 0.9044. So we add 1 to the 4th decimal place and we get 0.9044. Now the next problem is, what is the probability that in the next 10 people tested, at least one is AB negative, at least one? So probability of at least one, if you see the term at least one out of the 10 people, multiple people here, at least one, if you see at least one, there's a certain rule that we apply to make our calculation easier, and that is 1 minus probability of the opposite event. So this is the opposite of at least one being AB negative. So what is the opposite of at least one being AB negative? If we are confused at all, just replace at least one with none. Notice this. We just replaced at least one, the entire term, with none being AB negative. So it's 1 minus probability of the opposite. So it's 1 minus probability of none being AB negative, which is equal to 1 minus probability of not, dot, 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 not AB negative, not AB negative, not AB negative, dot, dot, dot. That's the 10th person. And this might look familiar to you. We've already figured that out, and that's equal to 1 minus probability of none being AB negative would be 0.9044, and that's equal to 0.0956. So that is the probability that at least one is AB negative out of the 10 people who are tested. Remember, there are multiple people here. That's when we use this rule. Now the next question is, in the next two people tested, what is the probability that, and I think I've forgotten to type in what is the probability that one is AB negative and one is not. One of them is and the other is not. Notice that it does not say that the first is AB negative and the second is not. It does not specify the order. So therefore, we have to consider two possibilities. The first is AB negative and the second is not, or the first is not AB negative and the second is AB negative. So the word or goes with addition, right? So this is the addition of the two, and its probability of AB negative and not, and the second event is probability of not and AB negative. So split it this way and now just plug in the probabilities. Probability of AB negative is 0.01 times 0.99, which is the probability of not. It's just the same number except that the multiplication order has changed here. So that is equal to 0.0198